everything that you asked me to. You told me to marry when I didn't want to. You told me to charm her to make it easier, and I did. You told me to consummate, so I did. Like, I do all these things, even if they're not things that I want to do. Like, I understand my life is like for the crown or whatever, for the people, blah, 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 whatever.
Let me grab my charger. Hi, y'all. So today I'm going to be talking all about Jupiter in Taurus for the next year. We also just had Mars move into Leo, which I think is like a peak transit. Anytime I think about Mars and Leo, the perfect example I have is literally Beyonce, who's a Mars and Leo person. So you can just take that and run with that. And also the Taurus new moon that just happened like 2 days ago. So yeah, let's jump right into it so that I'm not taking up too much of people's time. Hi, welcome. Yeah, Taurus in Jupiter in Taurus. One, I almost feel like this Jupiter should be exalted in Taurus because Jupiter is all about abundance and miracles, and it's a lucky planet, and it's all about growth, and not growth in the sense that something grows really fast, but that like growth that takes time, right? Those things that happen over time. If you notice, like Jupiter spends a year in a whole sign, and so I think that this transit is going to be really, really beautiful for everybody, just in general. And thinking about the Taurus energy, and Taurus is very earthy. It's all about tangible things. Taurus rules. I look at Taurus as ruling things like resources and for in more modern times, like our money and things like that. And also the senses and pleasure, and it's ruled by Venus, right? So sensory pleasures and the kind of stopping and smelling the roses, but also Taurus has that very earthy and persistent energy where, because it's also fixed. So that fixed persistent energy where it's like, we're going to get shit done. And we're also going to take time to like really nourish ourselves and take care of things, right, in ourselves. And I think that sometimes when Taurus is unnurtured and probably like in its more quote unquote, I guess for lack of a better word, like lower state, it can be very greedy or just kind of like lazy, things like that. But I think having Jupiter here, hi honey bun, you want some of my juice? Here. Can you hold it by yourself? Let me hold your chip for you. Okay, go ahead. I think that this transit is going to be really beautiful. One, because if you think about the planet of abundance and growth and expansion, being in an earth sign of tangible things. Here you go. Here. This is your water. Of tangible things and the kind of pleasures of our lives. I think that this is going to be very expansive in that way for us, for most people, for I think in general. And I think that this too might help even on a global scale, like the Earth a little bit, like having this transit happening. I think if the Earth had a sign to rule, I would put it over Taurus, or I would put Taurus as Earth's sign, for example. And so I think that Taurus being fixed and Earth, it's very, very earthy. It's very, very all about tangibles and the physical realm and materials and the things that we see with our eyes, that we feel with our hands, right? The stuff that we smell with our nose. So everything around us is the connection that we have to all of these things around us. And so I think that having Jupiter here also will enhance all of the things that are around us and the connections that we have to this world and this earth. And I think that that's something that will be really nice. The other side of Jupiter, right, is excess. So some of the things that also come up on the other side of that is that this is the first time I can actually see my chat. The other side of that is excessiveness, right? So if you aren't nurturing yourself or taking good care of yourself or doing things that are resonant with you and your body, it can turn out really unpleasant, right? Or in a more negative way, such as I think having Jupiter and Taurus can be like really easy to like gain weight if you're not really interested in gaining weight, right? And that might be a positive for some people, negative for others, right? But easy to like eat a bunch of stuff that you probably shouldn't be eating, or just overindulge in things. I think that's one thing that can come up with the Jupiter and Taurus: overindulgence, excessive things like laziness or bullheadedness, stubbornness, those kinds of things that are very Taurus stuff. But on the other side of this transit, I think that if we lean more into the more, what's the word? I guess positive traits of Taurus energy, we could be very persistent and very like driven and be able to get a lot of things done and keep things on track and maintain our businesses, our relationships, maintaining things, keeping them in a good flow. I think too, expanding on like our physical things, this might be a good time that people are like getting land, expanding whatever physical and tangible things that they have, like collecting more stuff, right? What that can also look like is hoarding, right? If you're kind of in an excess or experiencing some sort of disconnect within yourself, it can go to like an excess of hoarding or things like that. You might see more of that. But the other side of that is actually collecting more sentimental things, right? Connecting back to the land, your land, acquiring land, things like that, acquiring tangible physical things, taking better care of yourself, doing things that really please your senses, more love. I think having Jupiter connecting with the Venus sign just brings so much more love and nurturance. And if you think about Taurus people, they're very nurturing people. They take care of the stuff that they love and the people that they love. And so I think having Jupiter here, I think is just going to be really nice to experience this. And I just want to tell people, like, just to be careful of like, when you're not feeling good about yourself, or you're in spaces or you're in a space within your mind, maybe you might be going through something or things like that, really noticing like when you might be going over the excessive deep end, right? And having more discipline around that during this transit, because with Jupiter and Taurus, it literally is it can be an excess of the physical, right? An expansion of the physical, literally. So that's some of the things that come up. And then during this transit too, we have Uranus in Taurus. And so at some point, it's going to be a conjunction between the two. And if we think about Uranus, when I look at Uranus, I think that the Uranus and Taurus transit has had a lot to do with all of the kind of really interesting and kind of wild, or like what the hell, natural disasters and changes in the climate and changes in the environment, stuff like that. like having ice in places is not usually ice, or those kinds of things. I think that Taurus and that Uranus and Taurus transit has really exacerbated all of that. And we've seen so many different changes to the environment and the earth and stuff like that. And a lot within these past couple of years that Uranus has been in Taurus, you've kind of seen it come more to the forefront. And so I think when Jupiter moves here, we'll start to see, I think that it will spark a shift in the environment and the earth and things like that. And I think that, to me, and I'm more of an optimist, so I could just be being super optimistic, but I think it'll be changes in a good way. And I think it'll be really a good growth and shift for the earth and the environment and our connection to the things around us. And I think that during this transit, we will also start to grow a better appreciation for what we have, appreciating the things that we have, and becoming even more creative with what we already have, and also realizing the things that we actually have. Because I think that with Taurus, we realize how much abundance there is around us. Taurus is such an abundant sign, and I feel like Taurus doesn't lack. It's all about abundance and things growing, right? And so I think that Jupiter being here allows us to really see what can grow from the small things that we do, the small energy exchanges that we have, the small connections we make, the little small things that we plant, the seeds that we plant. We really will see all that stuff really blossom, and understand that, like, it's always been within us. I think a big thing is, like, it's always been within us. And I think that, especially coming out of a Mars sign, which I feel like Mars energy can sometimes feel very scarce, or very like, oh, it's just about me, or I need to get what I need, and very more, I guess, like selfish, for lack of a better word. Going into a Venus sign, which is all about connection and coming together and merging and magnetism and drawing things in, it's going to feel really good. Because I think that while Jupiter was in Aries, it was a big focus on, like, what do I like, me, and what I need to get done for myself, and how I need to do this and that. And now I think it's kind of moving into a space of, how do I connect back, connect with, connect to, how do I use what the resources and things that I have, and how do I also, in what ways am I not appreciating, and how do I appreciate the resources, the people around me, the love and tenderness and all those things that I already have, and how do I continue to further those things and continue building on that, right? Taurus is a building sign. So yeah, I think that that's some of what the things that come up with this Taurus Jupiter transit for the next year. I mean, you can look at where it is in your chart by seeing what part of your chart is cohabitated by Taurus. So for example, or if you have Taurus placement. So for example, I'm a Taurus moon. And so at some point, Jupiter is pretty soon. Actually, I think I'm already having a conjunction, because I'm like a 5th degree Taurus moon. And so I've just been feeling really like a lot of love around me, which I always feel that, I feel like, but I feel even more kind of connected and supported in these moments. Like, as Jupiter has shifted, just like really easily feeling more supported, where I feel like when Jupiter was still in Aries, I was feeling very stressed about like all kinds of things, like not feeling support, like having enough like communal support or things, or for like my business, or like I'm not doing enough and all this stuff. And then as Jupiter has shifted into Taurus, I've kind of felt this like feeling of like, I'm doing a lot, and I can kind of slow down and like really reevaluate, or look at things in a different way, or look at what I do have. I've noticed that my kind of mindset has kind of shifted in that way, or just my feelings around things, right? Because the moon rules our emotional body, our kind of reactive selves, and the subconscious mind. And so things like that. So, right, if you have maybe like a Taurus Mars, you might feel like you have a lot more energy to do things, to get stuff done, because Mars is the ruler of action and drive and ambition and fight and strategy. And so Jupiter coming in conjunction with that sign is going to exacerbate that Mars energy and that drive and that will and that ambition to do more and do things, right? It may also exacerbate kind of irritations, right? Or like having a shorter temper, things like that. With that Jupiter there, you might feel a little bit more heat, just like within, and kind of like fieriness, right? So yeah, if you have like a Taurus Venus, you might feel a lot of connection happening or love expansion, things around like artistry, like your art, like working with your hands, creating things might feel a lot easier during this transit. It might feel easier to connect um, to explore what pleases you and like your own pleasure and those kinds of things. I think is a big thing for Taurus Venuses right now, and making something beautiful, creating things, that type of stuff. um yeah, and I think if you have Taurus places in general at all, I think this sign I think this transit is going to be really nice too, because because Taurus is a Venus ruled sign. I just always look at Venus as thinking of things through the eyes of beautifying and experiencing things in a really pleasing way. And so I think pleasure in all kinds of forms is going to really expand and grow from this transit. And it's going to look different for everybody, because, right, if you have a Taurus sun, that's going to look more in a way that is focused on like your conscious mind and your drive in this life and your vitality. It might even have something specifically to do with kind of your general like energy might be better during this Jupiter transit, feeling like you have more energy and more space to, just do more, especially too with like like if you're Taurus rising, right? But especially if you're a Taurus rising, or I think Taurus moon and sun, because those are so, to me, very tied to the actual physical body too. I think it's going to be important too to watch if you're not trying to gain weight. But if you are trying to gain weight, then this is a transit that you can be taking advantage of. But if you're not trying to gain weight, be careful of like how you're eating and taking care of yourself in a certain way, or just overindulging in a sense. And I think I mentioned that earlier, but just as a reminder, especially for Taurus rising, sun and moon, specifically even more so Taurus, sun, and moon. And that also can show up as an excess if you have things like eating disorders, or if you have things around food, or a interesting relationship to food and things like that. Those things might be exacerbated right now if you have like Taurus rising or strong Taurus placements, or if you have Taurus moving through like your second house, or sixth house, things like that, your health house, your kind of what you take in, second house, and those types of things. I think it's going to be important to really watch. I think in general it will be, but even more so if you have specific Taurus, heavy Taurus energy, or Taurus like second house, sixth house, Taurus, maybe even 12th house. Yeah, 12th house too as well. So yeah, you can look at this transit moving through any part of your chart, and just think about the easiest way to think of it is this planet does what? Jupiter expands, it brings miracles and luck, it exacerbates, or it grows things. So wherever it's at, it's going to grow that space, right? So if it's in your ninth house, right? So if you're a Taurus ninth house person, that means that you're let me see, what's before Taurus? Aries. So that means that you're a Libra rising. So typically you're a Libra rising, and you would have Taurus in your ninth house, right? And so that ninth house is a house of spirituality or religion, higher beliefs, higher education, travel, like far travel. So you might be experiencing a lot more travel this coming year, or this May to the next May. You might be experiencing more travel or spiritual stuff happening, like an awakening of some sort, or just falling deeper into your religion, being more connected to, and just really diving into your religion, those kinds of things. Say, for example, you have a Taurus fourth house, which means that you would be what? Taurus, Aries, Pisces, Aquarius. You'd be an Aquarius rising. Aquarius, yeah. Yeah. Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus. Yeah. So you'd be an Aquarius rising. So for example, if you're an Aquarius rising, you might be there might be an expansion or things happening with specifically your parents, or you might be getting some land or moving houses or changing houses or expanding your house or those kinds of things, making upgrades to your home, or even I think of the fourth house too as a big. I just look at the fourth, 12th, and eighth house all along with around with birth and family stuff. And so it could even be growing your family or things like that, growing your home life and that expansion of that, right? You could be getting more parents, right? Sometimes when people get married, now they have their parents-in-laws and things like that, right? So it could be all kinds of different variations and stuff going on based on like your chart. Yeah. And then with the different variations, it can show up in so many different ways. So just being aware of that, because you may have planets that are aspecting that Jupiter, right? That might be creating some different nuance to that transit, right? For example, if you have like planets in, I don't know, Leo, right, which is going to create a square to that Jupiter, it might create more motivation for you, but also more tension happening with that Jupiter. So tension around expansion, or tension to get that expansion, or the motivation from that tension to kind of be able to be like, all right, I got to do this, or like I'm at a crossroads. So if I don't do this, then nothing's going to happen. But if I do this, then I'm going to expand and things are going to be better, right? Because sometimes we like to think of squares as just like this negative thing, but squares are what push us in life, right? And the trines are what kind of are what allow us to be more comfortable and relaxed about things. Where trines can be just as detrimental, right? If you have trines in your chart, it might be an area that you overlook a lot, or you're just so used to things just kind of being a certain way that you don't really put any effort into it, right? Whereas like squares are kind of like you feel it and you feel that tension, so you're ready to make changes or move forward or push through things, right? So that could be other things to think about when you're looking at your chart and how this transit can play out for you. But overall, I think the general tone of this chart is really beautiful. And like I said, I really feel like Jupiter could almost be exalted in Taurus, because I think this is going to bring a lot of resources into play, a lot of abundance, a lot of connection into play, a lot of beautiful things and harmony, and kind of just like being able to stop and smell the roses and allowing a lot of people to slow down. Because I feel like everybody's been kind of struggling in a sense. And I think a lot of that has to do with the past couple of years, or the past like years or so, we've seen like the eclipses, and they've been in literally that Venus and Mars energy, whereas Mars can be very scarce energy and the Venus energy can be very abundant, but it can also feel kind of going back and forth of like things feeling like not enough or like too much, and kind of finding that middle ground can be kind of hard. I feel like it's been the past couple of years, either you get something and then, or you just are like struggling or something like that, I feel. And so I think that I think that everybody's been kind of in a space of, or just from my experience and hearing other people's stories and people going through things, and it's been very extreme. And I feel like that has a lot to do with a lot of the Scorpio Taurus axis, and the eclipses and all the very fixed energy that's been like really heightened because of Pluto and Saturn and things like that, like Saturn finally moving out of Aquarius and all that kind of stuff. So feeling this very fixed, like, damn, this shit won't let up kind of energy. And I think that as we get a benevolent planet or benefic planet, however you want to say it, whatever, quote unquote, good planet, right? Moving into the fixed energy kind of breaks up all that that very like stuck energy that I feel like we had for a while, that was feeling like, damn, I take one step forward and two steps back, right? So I'm excited for this transit. And I honestly feel, I swear, like as Jupiter moved into Taurus moon, and I have on the opposite side of that, Jupiter exactly opposite my Taurus moon. So that energy is really strong for me. So I'm curious to hear how it feels for other people, and if they've noticed that shift, or their emotional body kind of feeling a little bit more like things are going to be okay. Like I could feel things coming and things being drawn into me, or feeling that like magnetism of something changing and things kind of growing, or like this abundance kind of happening already kind of within, and then being able to kind of draw that in without as well. Yeah, I think I'm excited, and I hope that this transit really does show up in that way. And like I said, I think if we all just pay attention to ourselves, continue to take care of ourselves, and discipline ourselves as well, because I feel like with Jupiter, there's a big piece of disciplining yourself, right? I feel like Jupiter and Saturn work together in that way, where Saturn is like, okay, like this is the reality of things, this is what we need to do, and Jupiter's like, here's the opportunity to do it, right? And so having to kind of tap a little bit into that Saturn energy, if you are geared more towards like kind of, just kind of being like, oh, just whatever, kind of allowing yourself to get more disciplined and be like, I'm gonna stick to this thing, or I'm gonna like create a structure for myself so that when it comes, I'm able to actually like utilize it and have it and sustain it. Because what happens a lot of times too is that we'll get all these good things coming to us, or this abundance, or this money, or things like that, and then we can kind of blow through it, or lose it, or just kind of lose it really fast, because we didn't have anything in place to really sustain it, right? Or really that foundation. So I think that kind of thinking about, having that foundation for yourself, and using this transit to really build on that, and expand in that way, versus, it just being kind of, because I just don't believe that anything is happenstance. I think things come right when they are meant to. And we still have choices to decide how we want to utilize that, and how do we maintain it, or do we just let it pass us by, or run through us in a way. And so, I hope that this transit is really beautiful for everybody. And if you have Taurus placements, I'm curious to hear like how you've been feeling, what you've noticed a shift in this past like week or so, especially because we had Jupiter move into Taurus, and then we had the new moon. So it was like, okay, like we're here. Like it's time for things to grow, right? I feel like springtime is the perfect time that things bloom too. And so having this transit happen in the spring, literally in Taurus season, is like so in alignment, and it makes so much sense to me. And I think that, I'm excited, and I think it's going to be beautiful. And I'm excited for myself, because being a Taurus moon, I feel like I've been kind of needing this kind of energy, because I feel like I've been experiencing a lot of just rough energy. And so having the Jupiter move into Taurus, I think I felt like, wow, something's different. I don't quite know what, but something feels better, yeah. And you can always book a reading with me. You can go to my website, bobbyperfection.com. You can send me an email, bobbyperfection@gmail.com. Or you can keep up with like my videos and ask me questions on Instagram, or here, all the stuff. I'm available. So I will keep it short and sweet. I don't want to keep you out too long. So thank you. Have a good one.